Dan Patrick of the state of Texas to talk about some of the latest going on across this nation. Lieutenant Governor, great to see you this morning. Good morning and welcome to Fox and Friends.
Good to be with you. I hope that here's a number I can give all of you that will be repeated over and over and over again as a headline. And that is, we are facing a situation on the border. By the end of the first term of Joe Biden, nearly 20% of all Americans will be here illegally.
Wow.
Now, where do I get that number? First of all, these are numbers...
Then they're not Americans.
But MIT did a study before Biden became president that we had about 30 million people here illegally in Texas because we've been apprehending about 400,000 a year for the last 20 years. We get 1 out of 3. That means over 20 years, that's 24 million people in a minimum. In this first term of Biden, last year, we apprehended over 2 million. If we get 1 out of 3, that's 6 that came in. We're projecting 2.5 million this year. That means 7.5 million will come in if we apprehend 1 out of 3. That means in Joe Biden's first term, in his first term, we will have more people come into America illegally than we have in the entire state of Texas. There are 29 million people in Texas. Joe Biden is going to let in about 30 million people in his first term, based on who we apprehend, 1 out of 3. You add the 30 million in 4 years to the other 30 million, that's 60 million people here illegally in the United States. That's 20% of the population. The Democrats and the left want to take over the country, and you can take over the country when you allow, in a 4-year period under Joe Biden, 30 million people in here, more people than live in Texas, in 4 years, because the next thing they'll want to give them a green card because they can't work without a social security number. The next thing they'll want to give them citizenship and, of course, the right to vote. And then you've lost your country. Wake up, America.
Well, wow, because we just had Mark Levin going over the why. He said something similar to what you're saying.
Yes.
And you're talking about political ramifications. He was too. He also talked about the cultural ramifications. I want to talk to you about this decision by the governor of Texas to have buses and say, look, if the federal government won't do this, we're going to put people on buses here in Texas, and we're going to take the border issues back to D.C. We're going to drop them off on the steps of the Capitol. I'll be honest with you, Lieutenant Governor, when I first heard that, I said, this is a gimmick. And then Will said, yeah, well, sometimes gimmicks bring attention to problems. So what say you?
Well, I don't think it's a gimmick. I think you're seeing the first step of a constitutional showdown between the governor and the legislature and the state of Texas and the federal government. Because Jen Psaki, how dare her say in her press conference the other day, well, this is a publicity stunt. We're the ones in charge of enforcement. You have no power. Let me tell you what our authority and power is. We have an oath to defend the Constitution of Texas and the United States of America and to protect the lives and welfare of our citizens. And when the federal government comes in and it interferes with our ability to keep our oath, then it's time that we have a showdown.